Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on Soulivity TV. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. Are you ready to feel the love, peace, and happiness that exists within you? Then the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, my guests and I explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices that can help you to realign with the happiness within you. The happiness principle for today's show is living your purpose. Have you ever wondered whether you're living your life's true purpose? This is a question with which many of us struggle, as only about 25% of adults claim to know what their true purpose is. People are on the quest to discover their life's purpose and are turning to books, weekend retreats, and purpose coaches for guidance. But the truth is, no one can tell you what your true purpose is. Although they might offer you strategies that can help you to narrow down what activities you enjoy. But what about if purpose isn't one single thing you came here to accomplish? What about if it was more about feeling on purpose than it is about your one true purpose? Feeling on purpose is where at any moment you feel like you are in the right place at the right time. You feel happy, and there's a knowing inside you that says that you are exactly where you need to be at exactly this moment in time. We can feel on purpose at many different times in our lives because purpose isn't tied to one single activity, but rather it is associated with a feeling while participating in various activities at different points in our lives. For example, to be on purpose might mean that while your kids are young and you're happy being a mother and your life revolving around them and their activities. But once they're older, you then feel on purpose when returning into the workforce and doing a job that makes you feel happy. So purpose is not about searching for one thing that will fill this void within us, but more about feeling happy and on purpose, participating in various activities throughout our entire life. On today's show, we're going to be speaking about the steps we can take to feel on purpose in our lives so that we can live the happy life we came here to live. I'll see you right after this short break.
Hi, it's Kerry Ann here. You should try Natural Life Propolis and Manuka Spray to soothe mouth irritation, relieve symptoms of mild mouth ulcers, and also fight sore throats and the common cold. And it's an antioxidant. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Welcome back to the Steps to Happiness show. Let me introduce my guest. She's an award-winning university professor and positive psychology researcher, a holistic health and spiritual counselor, life and leadership coach, and best-selling author. Diane Dreher, hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, and I am delighted to be here today.
Thank you so much. Now, Diane, you wrote a book entitled Your Personal Renaissance, 12 Steps to Finding Your Life's True Calling, which I would love to discuss more about on today's show. Can you please let us know a little bit about it?
Okay. Well, I am a Renaissance scholar, among other things. And what I noticed in my research is that there was a huge difference between the Middle Ages and the Renaissance in Western Europe. There was this incredible explosion of creativity. Why? Because the theologians discovered and started circulating this new insight that God had given everyone a set of unique gifts or strengths, and it was their destiny and their duty to use them to discover who they were and to make a positive contribution to the world. Mm-hmm. So we have artists, writers, scientists, saints, political leaders coming forward with new possibilities and creating the Renaissance. somewhat later in our time, positive psychologists have discovered with international research that we have 24 signature strengths, 24 character strengths that are common to all humankind. And each individual, each one of us, has a set of uh, top strengths, which are called our signature strengths. And these psychologists have discovered that when we discover and use our top strengths, we are happier, healthier, and more successful. So I discovered a convergence of Renaissance spirituality and current positive psychology, really saying to all of us that we have something unique within us. And to discover that, to listen to our hearts, to look within us, and to bring that forward brings us great happiness, joy, and meaning. And we can use these strengths in many ways, but the first thing is to connect with them. So my book shows people how to connect with their strengths, how to discover their strengths, how to detach from distractions. Sometimes the people in our lives who think they have an idea of who we should be, or sometimes just external distractions. How to exercise discernment and discover what our values are. And then finally, how to set a direction, a new possibility in our life. And living on purpose is really discovering who we are authentically, what our strengths are, what our gifts are. And we can use them in many ways. There are many seasons in our lives.
Oh, it's perfect. You summed up so much about what I believe our true purpose is, which is really to discover more about who we are so that we can lead the life that we came here to live. And that what it positions purpose as an internal discovery, not an external calling, right? What is your life's true calling? But we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for that true calling. And that, if we're not, I don't know, being a missionary in South America or in Latin America or in Africa or something like that, then no, none of us are living our true calling. But what's beautiful about this is that it's the understanding that it is about discovering more about who we really are. And so I have spoken about purpose in this way, where I said purpose is about rediscovering that I think many of us are not living authentically, that we're living with masks or with veils over us, where we think we need to be who we need to be, to be loved, to be accepted, to be revered, to be whatever, that we're not living authentically. So part of, I think, the purpose is to remove those masks, remove the veils that are prohibiting us from living authentically. So part of the discovery is that we need to remove those so that we can discover who we really are. And then therefore to really live the life, not the one true thing, but the life that we came here, which includes many different things, in the many different seasons of life.
Absolutely. There's a wisdom of Ecclesiastes that says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. And we go through many seasons of our lives. I'm not the same person I was when I was 12 years old. And you probably aren't either. My 12-year-old self had a purpose to learn things in school. And, great. One of my purposes is to continue to learn things, but I do other things as well. In my Renaissance research, I realized that there's a poet, John Donne, who was a metaphysical poet in the 17th century. And as a young man, he wanted to go into politics. That was his purpose. He was very bright. He was very articulate. He was good with language. And unfortunately for his political career, he eloped with Anne More, who was the niece of his patron. And people were not supposed to do that in the Renaissance. They married for love. And he was put in prison. His political career was shattered. He sent a message to Anne saying, Anne Dunn, John Dunn, Anne Dunn, undone. And it completely destroyed his political career. He then became, really focused on his poetry and wrote absolutely beautiful, inspiring poetry about love. Later in life, after Anne died and he began to look within himself again, he studied for and entered the ministry and became an inspiring minister. So his purpose was politics, then was, love, marriage, poetry, then
Mm.
poetry and spirituality. He was the same person. He was using many of the same strengths or gifts, but in different ways in different seasons of his life. So there are people I know who have done the similar things. A friend of mine from Santa Clara University, who was an administrative assistant, Gertrude Welch, for years worked as a secretary or administrative assistant. And then she decided she was going to retire and work full time for peace and justice. So she worked with the local churches, set up rotating shelters for the homeless, lobbied for peace and justice on many, many different levels, and became an inspiration to many people and current leaders in our area out here in Northern California. So was she a secretary? Was she a wife and mother? Was she an inspiring worker for peace and justice? Yes, all of those, using her gifts in the different seasons of her life. We can do that. And we don't need to be stuck doing the same thing over and over again if we've outgrown it.
Yes, yes. And even in those stories, you very much see this idea that we don't have to get stuck on discovering, I don't know. This is where like the redefining what this idea of purpose is, which is why I've decided to talk about it on this season of the show again, is that it's important for us to get away from this idea of living our one life's true calling. It's like, no, that it is about a constant discovery and learning about who we are. And 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 maybe sometimes often, it's that we discover a lot of those gifts and strengths through moments of adversity and challenge in our lives when things get difficult. And, we have to dig deep inside of us. And those situations provide a learning opportunity for us to discover what those strengths and gifts are inside of us that, had that not happened to us, we would not have discovered. And I hope that I don't want to go through the adversity to discover my, all of the gifts and strengths within me. I don't want to have to do it like that. I'm good to learn through other people's experiences. But nevertheless, this is what the journey of life is. And so you've discovered there's these 4 stages with multiple steps inside of them. So if we could, let's go through the 4 steps. I guess hopefully as many as we can. I think we'll have time if we spend just a couple, 3 to 4 minutes on each of them. We should be able to get through all 4. And so that we can keep these in mind at any moment. So like in the introduction, I said about checking in with ourselves at any moment and listening to how we're feeling. Do we feel on purpose? Am I feeling happy? Do I feel like I am doing exactly what I need to do in this exact moment? So it's just this constant like checking in. Do I feel on purpose? Do I feel happy? Do I feel good? Or am I not? Right? And that also, I think, is kind of built into your stages. So, Diane, if we could go into that now. So, what would be that first stage that is going to help us to live more on purpose?
Okay, the first stage would be discovery. It's discovering our strengths, discovering what makes us happy, what we love to do. And sometimes we can find that by remembering what we love to do as children. Did we love to play out in nature? Did we love artwork? Did we love reading books? Did we love playing games with our friends? Playing games with our friends, we have a strength of teamwork. We can play games on many levels as an adult. So really to discover our gifts is the first stage. And that's an ongoing journey, obviously, because it involves a lot of rediscovery, getting back in touch with who we truly are. Sometimes we get off the path. The second stage would be detachment.
I just wanted to add a point about that, is that
yeah,
returning back to, that idea of what we really loved as kids, what we like to do. It was almost like, I talk about this, that the love, peace, and happiness that we are as children. We see it innately in them. And then very slowly
Mhm.
the world, puts its claws into us and then brings us away from that. So it's almost like, that little boy who wanted to be a fireman, who loved, doing things maybe associated with that, or an artist or something. And then when the world gets in and says, no, you'll never make any money doing that. No, you're
Yeah.
not going to be successful if you do that. And it's like the world gets in and then tells us what life on earth is supposed to live like. So, who you'll ever be and what you can ever accomplish in this world because of, your background or the color of your skin or your religion or all of these things, right? That then limit who we are every day in this world. And so I love that idea of going back to that innate nature of who we were before the world maybe discouraged us from being who we really were meant to be.
Oh, yeah. In my workshops, I have people go back to a time when they felt truly alive, joyful,
Mm.
energized, inspired, and then, make some notes and then share that with a partner in the workshop. And the partner then
Mhm.
says, "Oh, and you were using a gift of art or a gift of connecting with people or something." And there's this incredible energy in the workshop room when that happens because it's rediscovery. The second stage is detachment because, as you've just said, there are a lot of distractions from who we truly are. And a lot of stuff kind of covers up our authentic self. So to recognize what our distractions are and to reemerge. And sometimes distractions can be well meaning relatives who tell us this is what we should be. Sometimes distractions are commercials that tell us we need to look outside ourselves to find ourselves. All we need to do to feel happy is to go buy something else. Not true. So to recognize what the distractions are in our life, and to start detaching from them, to start simplifying, to start getting back to who we truly are and get rid of all this extra stuff that doesn't serve us.
Thank
Then,
you. Oh, I
yeah.
just to draw on that point is that again, we're so conditioned to look outside of ourselves for that direction. And what do you think about this? How about if I do that? What do you think? What do you think? Instead of like going inward and really analyzing the distractions. And often it's the people closest to us that are saying, no, no, it'll never work out for you. You don't have enough education. No, you don't have enough experience. No, you don't have enough money. No, it's a lot. No,
Yeah,
it's a lot
right.
of like, you know, and so
Yeah.
the distractions. Yeah. And it's so important for us to be aware of that. We can stop looking outside for that guidance and that we need to start going inwards for the self discovery, as we're all talking about. So thank you for that point as well.
That's exactly really important. And in the Renaissance, there was a young man who loved to draw. And his father would beat him every time he caught his son drawing pictures because he said, "There's no future in
Mm.
this. You should be a cloth merchant and get a good job and bring money into the family." Fortunately for all of us, Michelangelo prevailed. He did not listen to his father. He continued doing artwork. Okay. He detached from that parental distraction. And so
Mhm.
it's happened all the time. Well-meaning people will tell us who we should be. Sometimes they are not on the right path. So after we've detached from distraction, then there's a sense of discernment. And St. Ignatius Loyola, who is the founder of the Jesuits, came up with this very simple way of finding what we truly value. Uh, Listening to our hearts, not listening to some external religious authority, but listening to our hearts and finding out whether we feel consolation, a sense of joy, meaning, purpose, love, connection with others, with the universe, or desolation, which is just the opposite. And, when we're walking on the path, the listening to our hearts becomes an inner compass. As you said earlier, we can tune into ourselves and say, what am I feeling about this? Am I feeling a sense of joy and connection and purpose? Or am I feeling really frustrated and irritable and low energy doing this thing.
Mhm.
Uh, we have
Mhm.
this inner compass, and in our culture, sometimes we forget to look within ourselves because there's so much going on around us. So discernment is to
Mhm.
listen to our hearts, and only then, after we have discovered our strengths, detached from distractions, discerned what our values are, what brings us a sense of joy and meaning, can we then set our goal, a new direction? Do I want to go back to school? Do I want to get a different job? Do I want to volunteer in the community? Do I want to get back to my artwork? Whatever it is for us at that time. And as you said earlier, sometimes we have an enforced period of distraction, a dark night of the soul, when we are laid off from a job, when a relationship ends, when a big change happens in our lives, which then make us go within. Uh, Whatever we have been doing no longer serves us because it's no longer there. A lot of people have had a sense of enforced detachment during COVID because they couldn't do the things they ordinarily did. And they had to simplify their lives, detach, and go within, and really come face to face with the fact that some things in their lives were not working. And then we have a choice. We always have a choice. We can make a difference.
Mhm. And I think the discernment part is very important. Again, that we have to figure out what is serving us, what's not serving us, who might be in the way that's preventing us. And often it's within ourselves. We're the ones that are limiting ourselves by and self-sabotaging ourselves from reaching for those goals, which is this last part, which is okay. Now that you've identified that you have limiting beliefs within yourself that's prohibiting you from going forward, dealing with those and dealing with them so that you can set goals for yourself that
Mhm.
are true to you, not because they make a lot of money or because you think you should, because you come from a long legacy of doctors or accountants or whatever that is, and you feel pressured to do it. So I think the discernment part is really important. And are there some tips that you can maybe recommend that can help us to discern what the goals might be that we want to set afterwards?
Oh, yeah. Um, there's a whole chapter in my book about that, but one is to recognize that we need to use our strengths. We need to connect our strengths with our values, and then explore. It's a research project. So setting goals in the direction stage is a matter of taking small steps, not a flying leap from where we are to where we'd like to be, because that doesn't work. And looking at the distance between where we are and where we'd like to be is scary. We think, oh my gosh, I can never do that. My husband used to run marathons, and marathons, it's 26 miles. You don't just get up one morning and say, I'm going to run 26 miles. You start slow. You start, walking around the block, then jogging, then running, then increase the distance gradually until you build up your stamina and you can run 26 miles. So that's a big goal. Same with, with a person's setting a goal, so that we have, you know, a process that my friend Dave Feldman and I did a research project on and published about hope. And that hope involves setting goals that are measurable, that are meaningful, that are achievable. And you just do one little step. And then you think of, if this step doesn't work, what is my alternative? What else could I do? You anticipate roadblocks and you prepare for them. So we have people um, write down their goals. That's a good idea, to write down a goal, and it makes it much more tangible. And then to come up with 3 steps they can take to reach their goal, 3 alternatives they can take if each step has a roadblock, and then to visualize themselves taking the steps, facing the roadblock, achieving that step, moving forward, and ultimately reaching their goal. That visualization also helps because it gives us hope. It makes us see that this is possible. And we can take a little step, one step at a time. If that, you take some steps and you exercise discernment and you see, this really isn't what I want to do. This isn't working for me. Then you can just modify your goal. As long as you are in touch with your heart, with what you truly value, with your strengths, and keep moving forward. It's an experiment, and we always learn from an experiment. There is no failure in an experiment. Okay, that you try something, it doesn't work. You try something else, it does. I used to want to be a writer, and so I worked for a newspaper as well as majoring in English in college. And I learned from working on a newspaper that I didn't want to write about all these disasters that happen and all this politics. I wanted to write about inspiration and poetry. So my experience with the newspaper was not a failure. It helped me exercise greater discernment and change my direction.
Yes, perfect. And yeah, if we look at discernment even like that, that the things that don't work out in our lives are not there to say, oh, look, you're no good. And oh, you'll never amount to anything. No, it's like those opportunities that like, well, what did you take away from that help you to learn more about? It's like finding your, maybe your life partner, right? That you have to go through other relationships to figure out and narrow what kind of qualities you are looking for in somebody, and what kind of qualities do they bring out in you that you want to share with a partner that maybe you're not sharing, with this one because you don't feel free to do so, or whatnot. The other, I think, really important thing in what you're all saying is and you've said this a couple times, which I really want to reinforce, is listening to your heart. That what we do, we are such a a logical mind society that it's always like, what do you think about this? What do you think? What do you think? No, what we should be actually asking ourselves is, how do I feel about this situation? Because how do I feel will lead us towards our happiest life. What do I think about the situation has us rationalizing situations that are not good for us. So relationships that aren't serving us, maybe job positions also that we're not being respected and we're being demeaned, or maybe we're being abused, or whatever. And we're like, well, it's okay. It's my boss. Well, it's okay. It's my coworker. Well, they're going through a rough time. It's okay. It's my friend. No, it's not okay. That how you're feeling about the situation is something that you should be honoring. And what our mind is supposed to do then is then become, let's say, the slave to the heart that says, okay, I'm not feeling good about this. How can I make it happen where I don't have to go to this job and deal with these people? Or how can I leave this situation because it's not serving me? So that's where the mind is then responsible with finding the path or the ways that we can follow the heart, because our heart is there to lead us towards the life that we really came here to live, instead of saying, oh, I'll just stay there, it makes me a lot of money. Oh, it just stay. Yeah, but then you're on alcohol or prescription drugs because now you're depressed and now you're anxious. No, this is where we need to live from this space, and then using this to figure out how we can make that happen.
Absolutely. Abraham Maslow once said that if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. To use the wrong tool for discernment, the brain, the mind, the reason, when we really need to tune into our hearts, is not going to help us. That there is a process in my book that, again, is taken from Renaissance spirituality from the Jesuits, that every day, at the end of the day, they practice something called an examine, which means to look back at the day and say, where are the areas of light? Where were the blessings of today? Where were the joys? And to be thankful for them. And then look at the shadows. Where were the shadows today? Where was the darkness? What can I learn from that? And then to say a prayer to move forward with that new awareness to the next day. It's important to tune into ourselves on a regular basis and listen to our hearts. That's absolutely essential, because if we listen to what's outside of us, or even our rationalizing minds or our inner critic, that's not going to help us move forward with joy, meaning, and purpose.
Diane, thank you so much for being on the show today and just, reiterating how I believe people should look at purpose. Imagine in my intro, I said that 25% of people feel like they've lived their true purpose. Many of people dying with what Wayne Dyer said, the music inside of you, don't die with the music inside of you, is that many of us are doing that by thinking if we're not the composer on a stage, that we can't use our gift of music, or we can't use our gift of whatever because we're not maybe doing it to that capacity. And because we didn't live that, then our entire life was a waste. Like, this is what we need to dispel. We need to dispel these ideas of what that, this disappointment that basically we've set up in society that is causing a lot of heartache.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
And thank you. And thank you for all the beautiful work you're doing to awaken people to their potential. We really need it. That's the way we can create a new renaissance in our world today.
I'd like to leave you with a thought for the day. When I began my happiness journey 10 years ago, I had taken a step back to reevaluate my life and ask myself some pretty important questions. Questions such as, am I happy living the life I am living? Is this all there is to life? And am I living my life's true purpose and full potential? I felt as though something was missing. There was this void within me that no matter what I did, bought, earned, or achieved, it could not be filled. The thought did occur to me that perhaps this void was linked to me not living my true purpose. Professionally and personally, I had achieved all the things that society, culture, religion, and family said I needed to have a happy life. A fulfilling career, 2 healthy kids, our own home, 2 cars in the driveway, vacation a year, lots of beautiful material things. So if my life checked off all the boxes, why is it that I felt unhappy with my life? Through the various principles and practices I adopted on my happiness journey, I came to realize that my lack of happiness and fulfillment with my life and the feeling that something was missing didn't stem from me not living my true purpose. The truth of what was missing in my life was the real me. I was not living as my true and authentic self, but rather as the person I thought other people wanted me to be. And trying to be the perfect wife, mother, daughter, sister, employee, friend, or whoever I needed to be, I wasn't showing in all areas of my life the way I needed to. And this led to the void that I felt. I now know that my understanding of purpose, which I had come to understand from others, needed to be adjusted. I no longer needed to search for that one true purpose, but instead to check in with myself at any given moment and ask myself whether I feel on purpose with whatever I am doing, and I use my happiness as a guide. So I ask you, are you feeling like there's something missing in your life and you're searching for your passion and purpose? Ask yourself whether you are showing up in your life as your true and authentic self. Is the real you at work? Is the real you out with friends? Is the real you on social media? Because chances are the something missing in your life could be your true and authentic self in every moment of every day, and not one single thing you've been searching for and haven't found. Thank you for joining me today on the Steps to Happiness show, and I look forward to being with you again next week.